Hello, welcome to Rainstorm Creates. My name is Nox. If you're new here, a big hello to you. Now, I know why you're all here, you saw the thumbnail and read the title, but before we get into it, I wanted to introduce myself. Hi, I'm Nox. I'm a designer and craftsman. I strive to make high quality and unique pieces of art. I show a lot of whips over on Instagram in my stories, so you should head over there and give me a follow after the video. All of my social links are down below, and while you're down there, why not give the video a like and hit the subscribe button. I post videos probably, hopefully, once a month soon, and I have a lot of projects in the works, and I can't wait to show you what I'm working on. Now, with that out of the way, let's get into how I 3D modeled a giant Polly Pocket dollhouse for Moonlight Jewel. Now, a little disclaimer before we get started, this video is not a tutorial, and as such, I won't be going into too much depth about the actual sculpting process. Now, with that out of the way, let's get right into the Q&A, and after that, we'll take a tour of the finished dollhouse. While I'm answering questions, there will be footage of me sculpting the bookshelf, which is on the main floor, and the lamp that sits on it, in the background, so please enjoy that as I answer some questions. How was I chosen for this project? Late last October, Eliza put out a question on her story asking if anyone who followed her there could 3D model. Seeing as how I could, I replied and asked what she was looking for. She told me about what she wanted to make, a Lucy Locket replica dollhouse, but in the scale of her 16-inch ball-jointed dolls, and I said I could do it. I showed her some of my other 3D work, which you can see on screen here. There's a keyboard, a little city, and then a 3D model of one of my old rooms that I lived in a few years ago. And she and I both agreed that I would be perfect for the job. How was I able to make the 3D model? As you can see here, I 3D sculpted the entire piece from scratch. It actually started out by looking like this, which is a little rough, and then I flushed out the house further and further, and then I finally ended up with the final result. I have experience with 3D models like this because I make things a lot like them for school. I'm an architecture and design student, so using Rhino 7, the program I'm using to sculpt this, is a familiar one to me. How did me and Eliza, communicate what we wanted? Clear communication and honesty. There's not much more to it than that. What was my favorite part of sculpting this model? Oh my gosh, this one's really hard. When I think about my favorite parts, my brain jumps around from thing to thing. I think my favorite part is, like, if I actually had to choose one, is the little details and textures that you can see if you look up close in the actual dollhouse. Things like that include the stones in the fireplace, the tiles on the kitchen counter, and the stones in the front room, the little stepping stones, and I also managed to sneak in a little Moonlight Jewel logo in those stones if you look closely. How long did this take to sculpt? 50 plus hours over about 4 months. I'm a very busy student and appreciated the far off deadline. This project took a lot of my free time from November through January, and sculpting was completed in early February, and that's when I turned in the final product of Moonlight Jewel. It took quite a while to get this project to go from an idea to an actual physical, thing, and that timeline's about 6 months. Will I be selling this? No. In no uncertain terms, no. This is a unique commission for Moonlight Jewel only and will never be made public. Do I accept commissions? I will be. I'm currently working out how all that will work, but if you have a serious inquiry right now, please feel free to shoot me a DM over on Instagram. I specialize in replicating real-life objects and architectural things, like dollhouses, and I really enjoy making them. I will not take commissions for dolls, though, and I don't think any of you'd want one anyway. And with that, I think that's enough questions. Let's get into what I know you're all here for, a house tour. To start this house tour, I want to say that for the most of the time I sculpted, I didn't have it in rendered mode like you see here. It actually looked like this. This view allows me to see all of the vertices, or edges, and shapes of the 3D model so that I can make clean geometry for printing. But for this house tour, I'll put it back into the much nicer looking rendered view. Another thing I wanted to mention is how I scaled the house to be the right size. Well, I took a PNG of one of Moonlight Jewel's Nova dolls and scaled her to be 40 centimeters, or about 16 inches tall, in the model so that I knew she would fit into the dollhouse when it was made in real life. This is also how I knew that the final house would be well over 5.5 feet once it was made. And yes, you heard me right, this dollhouse is over 5.5 feet tall. It's massive. Taking a look at the main floor plan of the house, here's the front gate that leads to the rest of the house, and in the house on the ground floor, there's the kitchen, living room, and front room. Each of these was placed very carefully to make sure that the final house could actually close, because while 3D models can clip into each other with no issues, that's not really how it works in real life, and things need to be placed pretty carefully. Now let's take a look at the inside. Let's first take a look at the fireplace. I'm super happy with how the stone texture came out and how the rocks inside it look. I think they're super cool. This is the front gate. Again, I'm very happy with the textures on it. You'll be hearing that a lot from me, but I really like how this gate looks as it opens and closes, like this. And as a special treat, Eliza sent over some videos of some of these working parts, like this one. And you can see how they work on the actual dollhouse. Thank you so much, Eliza, for sending all of these over, and I can't wait to show you the rest of them as we go through the rest of the dollhouse. Next is the middle gate. This guy gave me a bit of a hard time. I had to resculpt it like 3 times, but I'm really happy it turned out in the end. And it opens and closes nicely too, and here's a bit of a peek of that in the real dollhouse as well. Next is the living room area with the bookshelf and gate. The TV also swivels, which I think is super cool. The gate opens and closes, the bookshelf opens and closes, and as you saw when I was sculpting that bookshelf, the light has a little hole in the middle of it so that Eliza can put an actual light into the lamp, which I think is so cool. Next, let's head into the kitchen. We're gonna move the stairs and the table and chairs out of the way. We're just gonna hide those in the model. Don't worry, they're still there. I just hid them in the layers. It's like if you're an artist and you draw, everything's on layers, so you can hide specific layers. I'm super duper in love with this kitchen. I think I spent the most time on it, but the textures of the tiles on the counter and the hot surfaces on the stove. I really love the faucet, and also the actual washing machine door opens and closes. As you can see here, it actually opens and closes on the actual dollhouse too. Those are some strong magnets. And it closes with a really nice click. The oven door opens and closes too. I had a little trouble showing you guys this, but don't worry, it's okay. It doesn't actually open this far in real life, but this is how it looks open, essentially. It's got a big cavity on the inside of it. I was told that this joint is also super delicate, so I know in the future to sculpt things like this a little differently. And here's the stairs. This piece was super important for me to get right both aesthetically and functionally, as it's the main centerpiece that connects the top and bottom of the dollhouse. I resculpted the banisters twice to make sure they could fold up properly. The staircase connects to the house via these holes underneath the bottom floor, and they're a lot bigger in real life, so don't worry about their sizing. Okay, moving right on up to the second floor, we're in the desk, vanity, chair space. I was super happy with these parts because they were non-functional. They're just meant to look really cool, which means I could spend a little extra time making sure they looked really nice. The vanity was a little tricky to get right because of the angle it's in the dollhouse at, but we got there. The next thing is the bed. The drawers underneath the bed actually open and close. Here's what they look like on the real dollhouse. They're super duper cool. I love them a lot. And they're really big and pretty functional. I'm really happy with how these turned out as well. Next is the top floor, or the final floor. We have the bathroom. This shelf also has a working door. It hinges. Eliza talked about it in her video, but it has that hinge and it opens and closes. There's also the toilet, the sink, the mirror, the shower, and the bathtub with the faucets. Of course, on these 2 top floors, there's also the 4 windows that I sculpted, and I'm super happy with those as well. Alright, now let's take a look at the outside of the house. This is the main clasp. It's meant to be held together by magnets. You can see the magnet holes there. This is the Polly Pocket logo that I made. It vectorized it and then 3D magnetized it, I guess. I love how shiny it is. And then this is the main joint of the dollhouse. This took a few times to get right, but I'm really happy with it. It's got a locking mechanism and is meant to keep the dollhouse at a 90-degree angle. And with that, that is the tour of the dollhouse. I wanted to thank you so much for watching. Stick around for some renders of the Locket House and some final thoughts. If you liked this video, let me know down below by hitting the like button and leaving a comment. I do my best to read and reply to each and every comment. A few final thoughts. This project was massive, but I really tried my best to help Elisa bring it to life. I'm so grateful that she wanted to work with me, and I hope that you all enjoyed seeing my work. That's all for now, and hopefully see you later. Bye!